long was that? Alright, so that's an hour. Well, that's 1 hour and 11 minutes of freaking episodes of this game. We're gonna finish that out with a Fantastic Four comic.
Life is never so cut and dry. History is made from a series of unexpected events. Nothing can be planned. It had appeared to be a normal scene. A happy couple pleased with the birth of their firstborn, a son. The father's prayers had been answered. He had a boy. It didn't matter to her whether it was a boy or a girl. Motherhood had been her dream for as long as she could remember. But there was something different about this child. They both knew it, but never shared their thoughts. And even the child knew that his life would not be normal. Reed Richards had always been the victim. In every school, every bully chose Reed as his personal scapegoat for the miseries in life. It was easy to pick on someone who was weak, but Reed had a guardian angel that almost always came in the nick of time. Ben Grimm didn't like bullies. A truly strong individual didn't have to squash little guys to get ahead. A truly strong individual only squashed those who took advantage of others. Once again, Reed had been saved by his friend. It was humiliating how many times Ben had to come to his rescue. Worse was always going home. Reed's father was disappointed in the way his son had grown up. This was not the boy he wanted. Instead, his father took a shine to Ben. Ben reminded him of himself when he was younger. Reed's father seemed to forget that he was never a savior for the weak like Ben was. If anything, Reed's father would have been the first to dunk Reed's head in the toilet. It was difficult for Reed to listen to his father praise Ben. Whenever his father spoke to him, he always had a different tone in his voice. He was always upset over something, the way Reed talked or what he said. He hated how Reed dressed. He didn't like the books he read. He didn't understand why Reed never wanted to watch football or basketball with his old man. It all amounted to the same thing. Reed was not the son he wanted. One thing you get when growing up in a family like that is a skin as tough as leather. Reed had one thing that his father could not destroy. He had his mind to escape to. His mother understood him better than he understood himself. She wanted to listen. If only he would say something that she could listen to. She could guess what he would say, but he never would say it. So all she could do was keep praying that one day he would. He might have, too, if his father hadn't walked in. He would never understand. In life, there are always those who are unable to see the future. They are generally the same people that stifle progress. Nothing to say. What words from his mother would ever help? But Reed was a survivor. He had to be. Life goes on, and so does creation. It didn't matter that Ben didn't understand Reed's work. It was about the specifics. It was about respect. Ben respected everything about Reed. He was the first to call him a genius. Ben took everything with an open mind. It was in his nature to observe everything about a given situation first before making a comment or getting involved in it. Sometimes, not knowing is better. No matter how hard Reed tried to keep it simple, it still didn't make any sense. Even a football field analogy would be futile. Was there a better way to explain it? Who knows? This wasn't everyday stuff. It would be easier to explain why women chose the men they fall in love with. Why had his mother chosen his father? He would never know. Anyway, with this stuff, even Reed was grasping at straws. Sometimes it made perfect sense to him, and other times it was as if someone else had done it. But Reed was willing to give it his best shot, explaining what he could to his friend. Reed went on and on. Poor Ben could only stand there and watch Reed's mouth open and close. It reminded him of the moments during a football game when his coach ranted and raved on the sidelines. Ben must have missed that class. If Ben ever felt something all around him, it was time for a shower. finally, there was something tangible for Ben to grasp. Candy bars and things he'd seen in the movies. Yet every film that Ben ever saw featuring this type of crazy science always ended badly. Even Reed knew that. He had to remind himself that the rules in which movies are written do not control life. Life was generally mundane, though there are those who would always argue that life was always stranger than fiction. Otherwise, it would be boring. How would we feel if an alien toy manifested itself on your doorstep? Would it make any sense? Ben knew there was more to this. There had to be. He knew Reed too well. Reed fancied himself a maverick. He wanted to be a champion in his own right, and this was a way in which he could do it. He also knew that this was Reed's game. If he wanted to play it like this, so be it. As usual, timing was everything at the Richards household. Interruptions always came at the worst moments, always catching Reed off guard. Reed's sister was a regular tabloid reporter, searching for an ugly story. And she loved playing the true blonde. She was a natural. The thing with Enid was she was like most women. She never took no for an answer. If she wanted something, she was gonna have it at any cost. Reed hated being told what he could and could not do, especially when it involved blackmail from his little sister. Some people are cut out for certain things, and others are not. Everyone has their specialty. Understanding quantum mechanics was not a highlight in Ben's life, nor was memorizing offensive plays and the importance of a linebacker on Reed's must-do list. But that's why they were great friends. They didn't need to see eye to eye. They learned from each other. It didn't always work out, though. But at least they often tried. That was far more than Reed's father ever gave him. Yet Reed constantly reminded himself that it didn't matter. He would be better than that. He had his work. It was difficult for Reed to sleep at night. His mind was always buzzing with numbers and experiments. Reed's father thought a comet had hit the planet. At least for Reed's sake, it better have been caused by some outside force. If it wasn't for Reed's mother, there might have been a murder that night. To her, all that was important was his health. He will always be her baby, no matter what age. To his father, the important thing was getting to the bottom of his madness. The kid was obviously born on a bad day. When push came to shove, he couldn't have actually been his. He never would have spawned such a mess. It was easier for his father to yell than to listen. Every time he listened, he got a headache. But as I said before, his mother wanted to listen. Reed just never spoke to her. There was only one thing Reed lived for, and that was science. Here Reed was a god among men. Reed was well beyond the other students. They were obsessed with the way magnets worked or bought home science kits from electronics stores for 2 weeks' allowance. He wasn't the best public speaker. He had to stay glued to his notes or he couldn't talk. As Reed gave his presentation, someone else watched from the crowd. Their interest was more than just a curious teacher or an awe-inspired parent, for every word Reed said made their heart pump faster. This kid was pure genius. And within that split second, Reed would never be bullied again. Reed's father hated salesmen. He mistrusted anyone who came to your house, especially if they came praising your misguided son. There had to be a catch. There was always a catch. Nothing was ever for free in this world. That was the way his father lost his money, and his father's father lost his money. It was not going to happen again, especially from some wannabe hotshot in a beret. The guy refused to drink his coffee. What the hell was wrong with his coffee? How come his coffee isn't good enough for him, but his son is? Go figure. For the first time in Reed's life, his father was happy to have him. He always knew his boy wasn't a chump. At least, that's what he'll tell the neighbors and the guys at work. Reed marveled at the building. He and Ben had gone past it many times before, but like most people, they never actually looked at it. That was the purpose of this place. Reed was awestruck by his reception. Here was a real scientist, over twice his age, shaking his hand. His father never once shook his hand. Plus, Professor Storm even knew everything about him. and his work. He even had a pretty daughter. What else could one ask for? This was the greatest day in Reed's short life. He didn't know that it was all slowly gonna come crashing down around him.
Well, if that wasn't cool, I don't know what the hell it is. So I think that's the end of this recording session. Hope you enjoyed all those episodes. See you next time.